All right. Welcome once again to the Knicks Take Podcast live stream. Uh, Today I'm going to recap the just concluded about an hour ago Knicks versus Kings game. Um, it's a little late. Everybody's upstairs. It's just me. No kids today. But hopefully you guys watch and enjoy. And yeah. So first thing I want to say about this game. Knicks came out not with the energy that I thought they would. The Kings scored the first bucket of the game, and it was pretty evenly matched for a little bit. Evan Fournier ended up hitting the first shot of the Knicks, and then he hit another shot, and then all of a sudden it seemed like he couldn't miss. He hit the first 6 shots that he took in the first quarter, finished the first quarter with 16 points, and only missed one shot, the one shot being the last shot that he took before he was subbed out. And he was really clutch. He was really key to the Knicks just taking control of this game and maintaining control of this game. Outside of the first few minutes, the Kings never made it close, never tied the game, never retook the lead. The Kings couldn't do anything because the Knicks had gotten off to a hot start, and everyone started feeding off of the energy that Evan Fournier started. And hopefully this is recording because, yeah, I'm seeing a error message on my stream. Stream is healthy, but I'm just going to keep it going. So Evan Fournier got everything started. Julius Randle, when the game started, I wasn't liking the effort he was putting forth, but once it seemed like Evan Fournier was going to put this team on his back, Julius Randle started doing the things that we have always wanted and needed him to do, making the quick pass, making the quick decision, not holding on to the ball too long, giving it up to an open player, open man, and not just dribbling the life out of the basketball. So Julius Randle actually had a pretty good game, some defensive lapses early on in the game and to start the second half, but overall, I can't really complain with Julius Randle's game. He scored in double digits. He scored efficiently. He played extremely well on both ends of the court for the most part, outside of those defensive lapses that he had. Passed the ball, rebounded very well. There are a lot of games where I can, and in this upcoming episode of the Knicks Take podcast that we're going to release next weekend, there are a lot of reasons to be upset with Julius Randle. There are a lot of games where you can point out how badly he's just behaving and playing, but this is not one of those games. He started off kind of so-so, but overall, I cannot complain with what he has done today. On the flip side, R.J. Barrett, this was a game I thought R.J. Barrett was going to come out and play extremely well. Sacramento Kings being one of the worst defenders of the paint, and R.J. Barrett making so many strides when it comes to driving to the basket and making tough shots and making and finishing plays and things like that. And we never saw RJ really attempt to get into the paint in this game. He did have a few shots where he tried to drive into the basket and he made some plays off of that. But most of his shot attempts actually came from behind the three-point line, which I don't know if that means that he didn't study up on this team or if he had a game plan or he saw that Evan Fournier was hitting threes so that he thought that was going to be the way that the game should be played. But he went 1 for 8 from three. He shot just piss poor overall, and that the attempts that he took from three plummeted his field goal percentage. And it was just overall just a really bad game from RJ. He had 4 turnovers. He shot poorly. He defended very well. I'll give him that. He didn't really have, outside of a possession here or there, he didn't really have too many lapses on the defensive end, but overall, just a bad game from R.J. Barrett, and not really what I was expecting or hoping to see. And you know that's gonna come with him being 21 years old and still trying to figure out his role. Is he going to be the top guy or if he's going to be a second guy or whatever. But I really expected more from him. Not that the Knicks needed it on this night, because they got just excellent play from everyone else. Mitchell Robinson, I expected him to have a double-double tonight because of that same thing with the Kings not defending well in the paint. He definitely took control in the paint with his rebounding, and it seemed like he might have ended up with a double-double, but he only ended up with 9 points, mostly because the fourth quarter he didn't really see any time, because by that time the bench came out, took over the game, and blew the Kings out of the water. There was no reason to put Mitch back in the game, and so he finished with 9 points, 13 rebounds, and he had a block. That block actually put him above Marcus Camby for all-time blocks as a Knick. So that's considering how many times Marcus Camby's played for the Knicks and how long Marcus Camby played for the Knicks, that is a stat that is worth mentioning, considering Mitchell Robinson is now in his fourth year. If he does get a contract extension or anything, if he's still with the Knicks beyond the next year, next 2 years, we can look forward to seeing how far up that the block leaders on the Knicks, how far up he rises. Will he get to number 1? Will he get to number 2? Can't wait to see if that's going to happen. I hope it does happen, because that means Mitch improved and is improving as he gets further into his NBA career. But I want to get back to that bench, the bench mob, led by Obi Toppin and Quentin Grimes. Obi Toppin had an amazing game. He finished incredibly. He was one of the few players who did take advantage of the Kings' poor defense in the paint. Not that the Kings played poor defense tonight. They did play hard and they did play smart defensively, especially against the starters. And that kind of played a part and a role, I think, in why RJ and Mitch didn't really take over the game. But the other part, I feel like, was that they were just not aggressive enough. And Obi Toppin was over aggressive, super aggressive, making sure that, they might do that first move that will prevent most people from going into the paint. But if you fake a pass or if you do an extra move, that C will part open and you will have that lane to the basket. And he had some dunks, he had some layups, he had some great shots. He finished the night with a 3-pointer. I think he finished with 14 points. And him, along with Quentin Grimes, just completely took over this game every time they were on the court. Obi with his energy, Quentin Grimes with his defense. Quentin Grimes' defense is just, it's amazing. I don't know if I want to say that I think that his defense is, no, I'll say it. His defense is, for me, as good as Frank Ntilikina's was when he was on the team. The difference being that with Frank Ntilikina, you didn't know what you were going to get offensively, and more often than not, you got nothing offensively from Frank. With Quentin Grimes, he is just so much more of a complete player, offense and defense on both sides of the court. Quentin Grimes just gives you everything that you need. And I hate to say it, but I'm really looking to see if we can, how can we get him into a starting role on this team? Because I've said before, it seems like when we lost Reggie Bullock, that kind of changed the way that this team looks. And I thought Quentin Grimes is the guy who could fill those shoes for Reggie Bullock. So I was thinking maybe we get rid of Evan Fournier and Quentin Grimes, and Quentin Grimes starts. But Evan Fournier is actually playing much, much better since I first questioned that. Evan Fournier he had himself a night, at least he had himself a first quarter. But even after the first quarter, there were other things that he did that helped us win this game. He had some defensive plays that helped us maintain the lead. He forced some steals. He did everything that I was hoping that he would have done all season, but he's doing them now, and he's doing them more often now than he was earlier in the season. So I don't know if I necessarily want Evan Fournier to leave the starting lineup. Kemba Walker, though, maybe, I don't know. Can we have a starting lineup where there's not really a point guard? Maybe RJ can be the point guard, where we have RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. That is where kind of I'm at right now, because Quentin Grimes just played so well tonight, and he just he just put a stamp on this game alongside Obi Toppin that makes me just crave more minutes from Quentin Grimes. And I didn't really, back in summer league, if you recall, if you were watching Knicks Take podcast back then, I didn't really see what was so special about Quentin Grimes. I thought he was a good defender. I thought that the shot was good, once it finally came about, but I didn't really see him getting too many minutes. And now when he's on the court, I don't see how you don't give him minutes. There's a reason why Tom Thibodeau has fallen in love with this kid and has rewarded him with more minutes. He's averaging over 20 minutes a game, over the last few weeks. So that just goes to show how well he's playing and how key he is to this team. And tonight, it wasn't just about the three. Actually, I think most of his shots that he made were actually layups. So he also feasted in the paint against this Kings team. And he's doing more for this team than Reggie Bullock did last year, which is incredible to say. Reggie Bullock was low-key the heart and soul of this team. And we had a defensive identity, and he was key to that. He was the guy who picked up, him and RJ Barrett picked up the best wing defenders, the best wing players on the other team. And now we don't have Reggie, it's just RJ, and the defense is taking a hit because of that. Quentin Grimes, though, off of the bench, when he plays against starters, when he plays against bench players, his defense is just notable. He's causing turnovers. He's forcing steals. He's making life difficult for whoever it is that he's guarding. He's making anybody trying to pass to his man, making their life difficult. And you just want to see more of him. You want to see how much more he can do. And I never thought that I would be saying this early into his career, but I want some more Quentin Grimes. And this game, there's not really a lot for me to say, because the Knicks just really took advantage of this Sacramento Kings team. Even when the starters let up in the third quarter, and they did let up, they never let up enough for the Kings to actually be in this game. And the bench came in and just put this team away. It was mostly double digits the whole way around. This Kings team has a lot of promise, but they're not good. And the Knicks put them away just like they put away most bad teams. So there's not really much to say. I just want to highlight Quentin Grimes, want to highlight Obi Toppin, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. Alec Burks had himself a night as well. I can't forget Alec Burks. He had himself a great night as well. And as far as who didn't have great nights, Kemba Walker just didn't really give us anything from start to finish. I shouldn't say that. Off of the ball, when it didn't come to scoring, when it didn't come to putting the ball in the basket, when it didn't come to passing, he actually did contribute. He set some picks. He made life easy. He made other players' lives easier, even though his offense and his game didn't really show up. Ultimately, Cam Reddish played 5 minutes, and he ended up scoring more points than Kemba Walker. So Kemba Walker didn't really have himself a great night. Nerlens Noel, he played okay. He came in early and got hurt a little bit, and then it was questionable whether he was going to return. He came back in the second half. He played well. The majority of this team just played well. Quickly played well. Quickly had himself a decent night. It wasn't great. It wasn't amazing, but it was a decent night. I talked about Alec Burks. We got to see some Jericho Sims minutes. That's how badly we blew them out. We blew them out over 20 points at the end of the game. They didn't even get to score 100 points in this game. So the defense all night was on point, mostly due to the fact that the bench unit just swarmed defensively, and even the starters actually swarmed defensively on this Kings team. Um, yeah, Knicks scored over 100 points, blew them out by over 20 points. Cam Reddish got to see some minutes. He didn't really do anything that I felt was, awe-inspiring or anything. But maybe if he gets more minutes after a trade, maybe there will be something for me to look forward to. But he didn't really show too much in the minutes that he had when he was out there. We got some Deuce minutes, and we got some Jericho Sims minutes. And that's the kind of game it was. If you see these guys, Deuce McBride and Jericho Sims, when you see those guys and everybody else has played, the game is not close. So overall, very good game from the Knicks. Not much for me to complain about. They did what they were supposed to do. They showed up the way that they were supposed to. Now we have to look forward to this next game where the Knicks are going to come up against the Memphis Grizzlies, who are going to be a very good team, a very difficult team to beat. And we got to keep our eyes on, okay, you guys played well against the team that you were supposed to beat. Now this is a team that nobody expects you to beat. How are you going to show up? Julius, how are you going to show up? And hopefully the Knicks do show up. I'm not expecting them to win this game. I had them going 1-1 this week. So Wednesday was going to be a very interesting game for me to watch. Yeah, I'm going to be looking to see how they respond. Are they going to show up because the opponent is a tough team, or are they going to do what they did against Miami? If they show up the way they did against Miami, I'm going to be looking at which players play the worst. I'm going to be looking at who are supposed to be our team leaders. And that's going to give me a lot to say on this next podcast. So thank you for watching. I hope I wasn't talking too fast for you, but I'm really trying to get to bed because it's getting pretty late and I got to wake up in the morning. Once again, thank you for watching the Knicks Take live stream recap, Knicks versus Kings. I'll see you next time.